So this is Finish Strong Friday. So hashtag FSF, welcome. We do these trainings every Friday at this time with very few exceptions. That is 11 a.m. Pacific time here on the West Coast and 2 p.m. Eastern. And what we do is focus on mindset and basically mindset strategy, which goes just a little bit, actually goes way beyond the concept of just, positive thinking and affirmations and things like that, which are all incredibly valuable. And we talk about these things a lot. But, we really want to implement strategy to help you to be a better entrepreneur, to help you to be more successful in business. And our belief and basically our whole platform around this topic and this concept is that everything, success or failure, starts right here. At least 90% of it starts right here in this space between your ears. So, that basically means, in a nutshell, what I like to say about it is it's easy to be a rock star on the days when you're feeling great, on the days when things are going great. What really shows whether you're an actual rock star is what you do on the days when you're challenged, when life seems to hit you in between the eyes with a 2x4. That's where mindset strategy really kicks in. The difference between mindset and mindset strategy is the difference in knowing the concepts and actually doing the concepts. What is that phrase you like to say, Eric?
To know and not to do is not to know.
That's it. To know and not to do is not to know. So when you do come on and learn something new, implementation is the key. The real key to success is implementation of the things that you learn. So today we're going to talk about something that's really inspired me lately. I've actually been listening to a book, as I'm always doing, listening to some book or another. And this particular book is called The War of Art. So you probably all heard of The Art of War, Sun Tzu. It was really highly touted as being, this sort of really cool book that entrepreneurs and high-level, C-level executives were reading. But it's not that. Okay, completely different. It's The War of Art. It's by Steve Pressfield. And The War of Art, and by the way, apparently it used to be on Audible, and now it's not for some reason, but I was able to find an audio version of it on YouTube. So if you look up Steve Pressfield and The War of Art, you can find it there. But he is an author, screenwriter, and he's done some things that you probably would recognize, but I'm not here to really talk about him. I'm here to talk about this concept, which is really a universal concept that tends to occur in the lives of anybody who considers themselves to be a creative person. Now, you may be, shaking your head right now and going, well, that's not me. I'm not a writer. I'm not a musician. I'm not a screenwriter. I'm not this or that. But the truth is, if you're here and you're part of our community, you are either already an entrepreneur or you have the desire to be an entrepreneur. So an online entrepreneur, or you maybe have another business that you're doing. You've been somehow inspired by entrepreneurship. And that in itself is a very creative process. So we find that these very things we're going to talk about today actually apply 100% to entrepreneurs as well as they do to any other type of a creative person. Okay. I consider entrepreneurs to be in the same category at the same level of creative thinking as any musician or writer, successful or otherwise. Arnold's asking, where did the picture of you and your beard come from?
Yeah, I'll just tell you really quick. That was the happiest day of 2018 for me. And that picture with me with the long hair and the beard and the big smile on my face was the day that I got my halo off. I was in a halo for 12 weeks, broke my neck in August of 2018. On November 1st, I got that halo off. And that was the first shower I'd taken in 12 weeks. It was a very happy day. I took a shower. I would say I showered probably 10 times in a single shower, along those lines. So it felt good. So that was a happy day for me.
I jokingly call that picture the homeless Eric picture, and we maintain it to a constant reminder of what happens in our lives. Moving on. Sorry for the distraction. See, there we go. This is a perfect example of some of the things I'm going to talk about. The distractions that let you go down rabbit holes, right? So the core concept that Pressfield talks about in the book, The War of Art, is called resistance. He's actually named this thing. It's almost like a mythical creature, this thing called resistance. Okay, so write that down in big bold letters, resistance, right? Resistance is effectively the enemy, right? It's, really resistance is that universal force that seems to be in play with anyone creative, and it has one sole mission. And you can call this your subconscious. You can call this, all the tapes and all the things that the patterns that you've created in your life over time. It has one mission, and that's just to keep you safe, right? It's to keep things just the way they are, to keep you at a place where it knows that you don't have to fight or fly, right? You don't have to run away. So it's not a personal thing. If you want to identify it as an actual thing, like almost like a person, it's not doing this with the intention of messing you up. It's not doing this because it has some personal vendetta against you. It's not doing anything other than trying to accomplish its sole mission, which is to keep you safe and to keep things the way they are. So it really is, though, the force that will stop dead in its tracks an individual's creative activity, and it will do so by any means necessary. So some of the core techniques that resistance uses is rationalizing or inspiring fear or anxiety or emphasizing, what did I just say? Distractions, like, oh, wow, I was over here to research this one thing. I was reading this article and I saw some flashy thing over here and click, and now I'm off down the rabbit hole. And pretty soon, you're an hour away from where you started and you're, 7 levels deep into the rabbit hole, right? So, and by the way, in today's technologically advanced society, you don't have to be ADD for this to be a thing that's happening to you, right? It's happening to almost everyone. Another way resistance rears its ugly head is raising that voice of the inner critic, right? That sort of angel devil on your shoulder concept. And there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different traps that it can set for you. But I really just wanted to establish sort of the fundamental groundwork, the basic structure for what it is that's coming up, and then how you can overcome it. So the topic of our actual training today is really about the differences between being a pro and an amateur. So I'm going to talk about what I consider to be the 5 most significant differences between being a pro and an amateur. Again, inspired by Pressfield and his work. And again, it's probably not what you think. It goes way beyond just what you consider in terms of professional, being somebody who makes money at whatever it is they do. Okay, so let's talk about these 5 differences. Number 1 is amateurs wait to feel inspired, and professionals stick to a schedule. Okay, and if you weren't taking notes before, this would be a really good time to start. So amateurs wait to feel inspired, and professionals stick to a schedule. So what that basically boils down to is amateurs only work and practice when they feel motivated to do so, when they're in the mood, when feel like they're, the stars are aligned ever so perfectly, or they've got somebody else's permission to go ahead and take that action toward their goal, towards, finishing, whether it's exercising, writing, doing that, learning that thing you need to learn in your online business, whatever it might be, waiting for that perfect moment. So professionals, on the other hand, they don't let their feelings dictate those actions. They intentionally create a schedule and stick to that schedule, rain or shine, day or night, week in and week out. So let me ask you a question from everybody who's here with us. Who here actually has a schedule to do things that don't require you to be somewhere for someone else? Okay, in other words, like who has already created a schedule for your morning routines, for your creative time, for learning new things in your business, or whatever it is that you need? Okay, how many people have that schedule? I keep a daily schedule, says Zenobia. I know there's at least one other person on here I know for certain does this. There we go. There she is. Yeah. So look, I have the way I do this, and this isn't saying this is the right way. This is just the way I do it, right? I get up in the morning. I get started, relatively early for, a musician who stays up late at night. And the first couple of hours of my day typically do not get interrupted by anyone unless it's by my choice, not by distraction. So I might have a conversation with Eric about something strategic that we need to discuss in that period of time. but mostly it's for me to do meditation, to do journaling, to do visualization, to plan my day, to get everything broken down to, to a process that needs to happen throughout the day that then I execute when I'm finished with that process. So anybody who's known me for any length of time probably knows already that you really can't reach me during those hours unless I choose to either answer the phone or respond to you, and don't take it personally. Hopefully nobody does at this point, because that's just my time, and it's 9 to 11 in the morning. And you might say, wow, that's a really productive time to do business. Great, then do that. Get up a couple hours earlier or do your routine a little bit later. But we always are strong proponents of doing your morning routine, the thing that gets you focused and on track first. Start your day that way, because then you're already launching forward. You're already moving into the processes you need to be doing throughout your day. All right. So if you,
I like to just talk about that in context of just working on yourself first, taking time to work on you, being the best person that you can be, so that when you're having your interactions with people, with the world, with your family, with people you meet on the street, that you can be your best self because you've taken the time to spend, making sure you're your best self that day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the best investment you can make is investing in yourself. So congratulations, you're here, you're doing that right now. This is exactly what you should be doing as part of your morning routine. Zenobia said, I don't take calls before 7 a.m. That's awesome. I don't know anybody that would ever call me before 7 a.m. So, but yeah, look, you got whatever your rules are the right rules for you. It's not about, doing it my way or doing it Eric's way. I turn my phone to silent from the time I go to bed until whenever I'm ready to engage with the world. So I don't have the distraction of the buzzes or the beeps or the sounds or the ringtones or whatever that happens. And Jennifer says from wake up till noon is almost always scheduled. So I assume, Jen, you're talking about scheduled for you, your time to do your stuff, your work, your creative, your writing. That's why I suggested that you be on here today, because this is specifically something that specifically applies to you and what you're trying to accomplish right now. So awesome. All right. Well, on to number 2. You want to take it, Eric?
Sure. So number 2 is, amateurs focus on goals. Professionals focus on habits. Amateurs focus on goals. Professionals focus on habits. That's the second step. And so in the concept of that is amateurs are obsessed with the outcome. They seek the instant gratification of quick results and look to sprint to success. That is so true. That is so true. Oh my gosh, that's such a true statement. It's just looking for, my gosh, this isn't working. I need to do something else.
Right.
It's like, no confidence in the process, in the habits, in the daily. So they struggle with resistance and procrastination because their intense focus on the end results. Professionals treat success like a marathon, not a sprint. They focus on developing the habits that will naturally help them to achieve their goals as a byproduct. So they're, as a professional, there's certain aspects of what you're doing right now that is your piece of it, your piece of the puzzle. And they're just working on that habit of taking that action, not being tied to the results, right? Not being tied to, like, I'm going to call 20 people today regardless, right? And that's the habit. That's the habit. Whatever that habit is, I'm going to run my marketing today. I'm going to follow up with every lead that comes through my systems today. And that's the habit, right? And not being tied to the outcome, not the results of that, but just being tied to the habit, and then working on getting better in your part of that, right? Improving your portion of that habit, right? Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this boils down to, what do you want to accomplish in your life? And, the marathon, not a sprint. There's a lot of things. There's a reason there's a lot of things that are considered quote unquote cliche. It's because they're real, because, like there's old fables. The first thing that came to mind when Eric was talking about this, number two of amateurs focus on goals, when he was talking about the sprint, the first thing that came to my mind is a tale I heard when I was a little kid, and we all did. And it's the tortoise and the hare, right? It's so easy, especially in this day and age, to think that there's the next best shiny object is the thing that's going to solve your problem. But what's really going to solve the problem of success versus lack of success is consistent and diligent practice. One of the things that I loved when I was listening to Pressfield's book is he talks about his morning routine. And he basically says in very blunt terms, at the end of the day, do I sit down and ask myself, how many pages did I write? He says, no, I don't give a shit. Honestly, I don't care. What's important. Do I go back and look at editing what I wrote or to see if there's anything of value? I don't care. If I do it every single day, I know that ultimately I'm going to get the result that I'm looking for. He talks a lot about, the muse, the inspiration, that piece that kind of flows through you. That doesn't happen unless you're constantly engaged in the process. You have to be engaged in the process. It doesn't happen in fits and starts. You have to be in that space and that flow. Yeah,
that reminds me of a podcast that I was listening to, and it was actually Joe Rogan. He was interviewing a comedian, and he's just talking about doing reps as a comedian. He goes, they're talking about hating certain comedians that you go to their show 2 years ago, and then you go to it 2 years later and you hear the exact same jokes, right? They're a robot. They know it works, right? They've got a formula, it works for them, and that's what they do. They just do it every time. And he's talking about, for me, like I'll have a fight with my wife and I'll want to just get on stage and just work it through.
Right. New material, source of new material.
Yeah. But he talks about doing the reps. And he said, man, the other night I did 6 sets in one night. So he went to 6 different clubs and did a set in a single night. And I think he was in LA, which is very hard to do in LA. You got drive time and everything, right. So, but he's like, by the time I got to the 4th set, man, I was so in the zone. I was so dialed in. I was so in the groove of what I was doing.
Got the download by being in the process.
And he's like, just doing the reps is what gets you better. Right. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about as far as being a professional, not being tied to the outcome, but just doing the work.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, you see that we use a lot of physical metaphors too, doing the reps. That's like a thing, a weightlifting term, right? But the same thing applies. You can have all the knowledge in the world about how to become physically fit, but
well, Jeff might be gone. Jeff, until Jeff comes unfrozen again, I'm just going to take over from where we're at. And luckily, I've got the material right here in front of me. So step number 3, amateurs strive to achieve, professionals strive to improve. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the last thing. So just like a recreational runner preparing for a marathon, amateurs strive for achievement of finishing the marathon. After the marathon, the recreational runner no longer strives to improve their running. The achievement has now been reached, so the incentive to stay consistent with practice is very little. The professional understands that an achievement is simply an indication of how much they've improved. They are focused on continuously growth and seeking to find new ways to improve themselves. So Kaizen, is the thing I think about, which is the Japanese, I don't know if you'd call it a proverb or just like a way of business.
A way of life, yeah.
Yeah.
A way of being.
Just continuous improvement, continuous improvement of yourself, of a process. And really that's how they've gotten to dominate in the, like in the electronics, in car manufacturing industries. They just are always trying to get better, always moving forward. And Toyota, that's like the focus point of them as a company, is Kaizen. That's what they focus on. My brother actually worked with them for years, and he was just enamored with how long a term of vision they have. They have generational vision as a company in Japan, as opposed to we have a quarterly vision with companies here in the United States. And they're thinking about 100 years from now, how is this decision going to affect that? So anyways, they're just working on improving, getting better, instead of working on completion of whatever it is that you're looking to do, is what step number 3 is all about.
Ultimately, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
And that's life. That's a rule of life. It's, if you just stop when you think you get there, well, first of all, it's almost like impossible to do that, really. How do you even do that? Like, I would really defy anybody to come up with a way that you can literally stall yourself and not move forward or grow or progress in some way. You can have the resistance to the growth, but you're still going to grow even with the resistance. So, I don't want to get all philosophical, but that's really
you're either green and growing, or you're ripe and rotting. If you're done, that's life. That is life, in my opinion. So, anyways.
All right. Moving on. Number 4, amateurs stall after failure. Professionals grow after failure. So again, see how these things all sort of feed into each other. Amateurs try to avoid failure at all costs. Let me just ask everybody here, who is going out every day looking for their next failure? It's not a trick question. We talked I think it was last week, we had talked about something where actually a guy that I've been working with is sort of definitely a philosophical kind of guy, but he passed on something from one of his mentors, and it was kind of about the getting ready to get ready concept that we've talked about before. And it really came down to, look, if something's going to work, it's going to work almost with or without you. Go out there, trip, fall down, fall on your face, get dirty, make a mess of things. And then if it's going to work, you're going to have what you need to clean up that mess down the road. But while you're just sitting around on your hands trying to figure out what the perfect plan is, that plan's passing you by. And it's also, in our industry, of course, it's evolving at a pace that, has already changed by the time you've waited 3 months or 6 months to get your perfect plan in place. So your best bet for success in anything entrepreneurial at this stage is to just jump in and make it happen. If it's going to happen, you're going to find an audience. The audience is going to find you. You're going to find ways of improving your processes and be able to move forward from that. So, the idea of a failure being an adversity is, I think, rapidly turning into, in the entrepreneur world especially, that actually failure is your best lessons.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, they look at people that are successful and they go, man, that person's fearless. That person has no fear. If I had no fear like that person, I would succeed. But here's the truth. Everybody has the fear.
Right.
Okay? The professionals do it anyways. Feel the fear, do it anyways, right? Yep. You just do it anyways, right? It's just because you have it.
Embrace it.
And everybody has it. Everybody has it. There's no one that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And so just get going. Just do it. Make a mess.
I guarantee you that anybody you look up to, anybody who's a leader or a mentor, whether it's in our community, outside of our community, anybody that you look up to as an entrepreneur, it may look great on the outside when you see their story of their mess and how they got to success, on a video because they've got their interview down or whatever. But I guarantee you every single one of those people is still facing the dragon every single day. Every single day. Now the dragon changes. It grows or it shrinks according to what's going on in your world.
And usually, if you're winning, if you're succeeding, it's bigger, right? The dragon's bigger.
Well, it's more insidious. It's bigger in a sense. It's sneakier because it makes you feel like it's kind of like we were talking about before with in number 3. I think it was. We talked about achieving versus improving. I got there. I've arrived, right? I have arrived. Well, that is the biggest trick that resistance plays on you to make you think that you've arrived so you don't continue to grow.
And I love this statement. professionals, they treat failure and criticism like a science, discarding the irrelevant information and using the relevant feedback to become better at what they do, right? So just and it's just all a mindset about failure, fear and failure, and how you dealing with that on an internal basis. And I tell you, when you're not winning, all of a sudden the wall that's in front of you, because there's always a wall that you got to break through, right?
Every day.
Looking like, oh man, I could maybe jump over, it's only 3 feet high, I could jump over that thing or get around it somehow. All of a sudden it just starts, gets so big that you just feel like, oh my gosh, I got nowhere to go. Nothing to do. But you taking action is what starts the process of getting through that wall, getting over.
Sure. Well, the interesting thing, and that's a great analogy, because my perspective on that is the wall never changes size, but all the voices in your head cause you either creating growth for you so you can see over the wall or climb over the wall, or shrinking you down so it makes it look bigger.
Yeah, like if I look at this pencil, look at this here, it's nothing.
Wait, let me get closer so I can see. Wait.
Yeah, hold on. Oh my gosh, look how big that is.
Yeah, I don't. That there's this big thing in my face that I know it's so huge I can't get past it. There's no way. Oh wait, it's just a pencil. Right? It's all about perspective. Yeah. All right. Yeah, this is good stuff, you guys. So, and I want to just comment on a couple of the comments here. So, yeah, no one starts at the top, said Lori, sorry. And we love you. She said, Ann says, I have a really good mess going. LOL.
Love it, Ann.
Yeah, we're making a couple messes over here too right now.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Last on the list, number 5, amateurs live for opinions. Professionals live for the truth. Let that one sink in for a second. In the world of social media, everybody's kind of looking for who's going to like my picture.
People that are writing it down.
Yeah. Amateurs live for opinions. Professionals live for the truth. So amateurs are easily swayed by opinions and the best practices of the majority of the people in their field. The basis of an amateur's decision-making is their belief that I'm right because I believe I am, or because society believes I am, or this group of people thinks I am. But professionals, like Eric referred to, thinking like scientists in the previous one, professionals actively question all the widely held assumptions about how things should be done or about how things work.
That's good.
True entrepreneurs are cutting edge. They're people that are out seeing a problem that exists and solving that problem. But sometimes it's just making a process better, a process that already exists. Wait, does it have to be that way? Wait, this is the way we've always done it, but does that make it the right way to do it? Even though that way might work, is there a better way? That kind of active questioning process is always going to help to move you forward and to, commit you to being on a more professional path. So the professional's decision-making process is based on objectivity, not on opinions. This type of thinking prevents them from not necessarily making any bad decisions, but from making more bad decisions. So just to wrap things up here, I'm going to just quote some more of Pressfield. And in order to turn pro, which I hope that in this short 5 little here, we've given you inspiration to want to go pro with what you're doing. You have to abide by the 2 commandments of professionals. Number 1, thou shalt commit to a schedule. So a schedule is simply a pre-commitment to consistently putting in your reps, like Eric talked about, putting in the hours, putting in your reps, right? So if it's writing, then you need to schedule it. If you're writing a book, you need to schedule that time. Where are you going to make that commitment? If you're committing to an exercise routine, get it on your calendar. Let nothing get in the way of that. Think about it like this. If you put on your calendar an appointment with the doctor or the dentist or your therapist or any other person that you put in the class of professionalism or the professionals in your world, do you miss those appointments? Do you ever miss those appointments? Unless there's just some like life-shattering thing that happens? No, hardly any of us would. So why would you not do the same thing for yourself? So just like any habit, your willpower, your ability to delay gratification, all those things are going to affect your consistency levels. And if you schedule something, literally put it on your calendar, whether you keep that in your phone in Google Calendars, on your computer, in a paper planner, whatever you do, write it down, commit to it, stick with it. All right. And then the second commandment, thou shalt believe that they are pro. Okay. You can't think and act like a professional if you're still playing an amateur game, if you're still believing that you're an amateur or you're still acting like an amateur. So what's really important is that you need to shift your identity, and you have the power right now to believe that you're a professional and to make the commitment to that process. So to say that you believe you're a pro isn't enough. You have to take the actions. You have to do the things that make you a professional. You make the decisions and then you do the things. Prove to yourself that you're really a pro and do the things that a pro would do every single day.
So how do you do that? You have a morning routine that puts you into a state of telling yourself what you're going to do, right? And then you do what you tell yourself you're going to do. And at the end of this day, you can say, I acted like a pro today because I put in the reps. I said I was going to do this, and I did this, and these are the results. So it doesn't matter what the results are. What matters is that you set a schedule, you stick to it, and you put in the reps. You put in the activity, you get better. You know that you don't do it for one day and say, oh my gosh, I did 10 push-ups. How come I'm not a world-class bodybuilder? You got to put in the time and put in the reps, like I was talking about earlier, that to do, to realize that, look, I now deserve the results. And you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I deserve the results. I'm a professional. I'm doing what it takes, because you have been week after week after week after week and doing what it takes. And then all of a sudden you have massive belief in what you're talking about and what you're doing, because you can do it, right?
And then you become what is largely termed or widely used as a term, the overnight success.
Yeah.
That's like all the people that are grinding it out right now. Those are the people that you're not seeing. The people that you're seeing that are, really face forward, present in the world of whatever it is, whatever your world is, right? Personal development or mindset for us is, we know who all the big players are. You guys probably do too. But they didn't get there. Like, you got to see their iceberg, right? What you see is the little tip, but down below that is the grind. It's the hustle. It's the commitment to that morning routine. It's the commitment to the schedule. It's the putting in the reps every single day. That's the part you don't see. And that's the part that you get to have when you make this commitment.
That's so funny, because I'm going to go back to that podcast that I listened to. It's Jeff came up with this piece of content. And I just watched this podcast like separate with these two comedians, but the one was just saying, but the message was exactly the same.
Shocking.
Exactly the same. They're saying, you just like the only way to win is to believe you're going to win, and the only way to do that is to put in the reps.
Yeah. And
there's just no other way around it. And how do you do that? You're going to have fear. Guess what? Doesn't matter. Okay. No one cares about your fear. Right? Your fear is not going to pay your bills. All right. I'm talking to somebody in particular on this call right now.
Maybe more.
Yeah. And I'm just saying that it doesn't matter. You just got to go out and just make a big old mess, screw things up, take a lot of action, look at what you did, look at what the feedback is, and try to improve on that every day. And just start putting days together, and all of a sudden you'll be the overnight success.
And just to sort of wrap up and tie it all up with a neat little bow, we don't stand up here on some sort of a pedestal throwing this stuff at you guys. In fact, here, let me do a real, here we go. That's who we're talking to, right? When we say this message is for you today, we're looking in the mirror and we're seeing us as well. We have the same message. It's the same thing. So nobody says, talking to me, Eric. And yeah, so we're all sort of in the same mastermind space right now and experiencing.
Well, you guys, the truth. You know who I'm talking about. All right. You guys know.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's a lot of people that need to hear this message. You should turn them on to the replay, send them the replay when we post it.
Yeah.
Make sure they watch it. right? And because everybody needs to hear this message. It's a good message.
We're gonna send this out to our entire mastermind group when we're done here too. Might make a couple little tweaks and edits just to make it really super clean, because I know we had some glitchy spots in the middle. But this is something that I can already tell this is something we want to save and repeat, because we needed it as much as you did today, guys. So with that, happy Friday, Finish Strong Friday, hashtag
make it happen today. You know what? The week is not over. Make it happen today. You can do it. We believe in you. Finish strong.
Kill it, crush it, make it so.
Mahalo.
Hey guys, we'll talk to you soon.